Good evening, everyone. This is Ryan Hoyme, aka Massage Nerd, and tonight we have Tina Allen. And Tina Allen is from littlekids.com. And it's not the way you'd think you'd spell it. It's LIDDLEKIDZ.com. And I was going to try to condense her bio, but the thing is, her bio is like 5 pages long. So I'm just going to have her kind of summarize her bio a little bit for you to go over it. So good evening tonight, Tina.
Hi, Ryan, and thank you everyone for listening in, and I apologize for my technical difficulties. I was mentioning to Ryan that sometimes happens when you're on a tour and you don't have your regular setup, so I apologize for that. I'm going to troubleshoot while we're talking and see if I can get something figured out, and maybe we can bring some video in if we can. So thanks for having me tonight, Ryan. It's great to talk to you again.
Yep. And I was able to see you just for a little bit, so that's better than nothing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll see you in person sooner than later, so that's really good too.
Yep.
So, would you like me to give a little bit of my background?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ryan was asking me to give a little bit of my background, and one of the things that I would like to share a little bit about is sort of how I got started in this field, because it's something that people ask me all the time, working with infants and working with children and also in pediatric, different kind of healthcare settings. It's a little bit of a different path than some massage therapists have taken with their careers, and so I get lots of questions from different people asking me, well, why did you decide to do that, and how did you get going that way? So really, I started out as a massage therapist probably about 14 years ago, and the reason I went to massage therapy school was a little bit different. It wasn't only to pursue massage, but actually to use it as an adjunct therapy. I was going to school to become a pediatric occupational therapist. So I always knew I wanted to work in pediatrics and in healthcare and to use unique therapies. So when I was thinking about other things I could add, when I was going to school for pediatric OT, massage therapy came up, and really the program was a little bit shorter, and so I thought, well, I'll go and get this out of the way and then add it in as I'm continuing my studies, and then even use it so I can work.
Tina? We lost Tina there for a moment. Just one moment, please. Just trying to get Tina back on the line. Hello?
That's me again. That was interesting.
Yep.
Is this the best interview ever, Ryan? This has got to be the most fun. It's definitely fun for me. This is really fun. This doesn't ever happen to me, so this is fabulous.
Yeah.
So let's see, where did I leave off? I was talking about working with adults, and really that's how I started working with different populations, sort of outside of our healthy, well adult populations. And I was working a lot with people in hospice and people with AIDS and different types of terminal illness, and sort of a great group of people that were considered to be untouchable. And so I started doing that more and more, and in that work had an opportunity to meet a lot of people in healthcare. And people would ask me, well, what is it that your long-term goals are? And you mentioned you're going to school for pediatrics, so I don't understand how this all fits into what you want to do. I've had an opportunity to talk to lots of families and nurses and doctors and just share with them about how pediatric massage therapy, how it all fits together really in the circle of life, and working with the little ones, and how as they get older they'll be different. They'll have different benefits from massage therapy, surely health benefits, but even just how they deal with other people as they grow and develop. So I had a lot of people who started to ask me, well, a pediatrician said, I have this child in my practice that I think would benefit from massage therapy. Would you consider working with her? And I'll ask for parents. And it sort of started out that way, sort of a one-on-one process with physicians referring clients and pediatric clients, and then also families contacting me, asking me to work with them. And over time, I just kept working more and more with kids and seeing that in a way they were considered almost an untouchable population, because massage therapy for many people is still misunderstood. And then to think about using touch with children, it starts bringing up a lot of other misunderstandings for people. So it was really a practicing pediatric massage therapy and realized that no one was really doing it in the open. I'm sure that there were nurses and other people practicing maybe infant massage or teaching parents, but they weren't in the hospital setting, but they weren't really talking about it. So some colleagues and myself went to Children's Hospital Los Angeles and worked to develop the first comprehensive pediatric massage program in the United States. And after years of that work and getting that off the ground, I went to Mattel Children's Hospital at UCLA and worked with them to develop a pediatric massage program, and then also at Cedars-Sinai. And more people would hear about pediatric massage and ask me if I could consult on a research study, or would you please come to this conference and speak so that nobody here is teaching it. Would you please come to our massage school and teach? And I realized there were a lot of people that were really interested in using infant and pediatric massage. So I developed the Liddle Kidz Foundation to support that work, and we are a nonprofit organization so that we can do lots of different work, as well as try to receive grants to work with populations that maybe can't afford services. And probably I want to say about 3.5 years ago, I actually had come back to Los Angeles, and my husband hadn't seen me in a long time because I was flying around all the time doing conferences and educational workshops. And he had a tour bus, and he wasn't using it. And he said, well, I don't know why you need to be in LA, and you're always gone. So why don't we move into this tour bus, and you can take little kids on the road. So for about 3.5 years, maybe getting close to 4 years, we've been on tour full time so that I can teach all across the U.S. and Canada, which is what we do with the tour bus. And then overseas we fly. I can't really take the bus overseas, but we travel full time, and I offer workshops just about every single weekend. And it's been great. And this past year, I'm really excited because I've had lots of hospitals, more and more, coming out and saying, please become an educator staff, or can you help us develop a pediatric massage program? And I know when I was out your way, Ryan, I was working with the Mayo Clinic and had an opportunity to work with some of the staff there and helping them to get some thoughts together on a pediatric massage program. And then the Connecticut Children's Medical Center, they're actively developing a comprehensive integrative medicine program, which part of it will include pediatric massage therapy. And then also AID Comp, which is the Nemours Foundation. I was working with them this year, and we're still working together to develop a pediatric massage program there. So it's just growing, really leaps and bounds. And when I started years ago, it was nobody had ever even really heard of it as much, and now they're actually creating team positions in the hospital. So it's fantastic. It's really exciting, and I'm just glad that more and more people are seeing the value of massage for children.
And it's so nice you got in on the ground floor of all this stuff too. So before it even, you kind of made a name for infant and pediatrics, so you're the go-to person. That's what's nice about it.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm glad that people are coming out, and even if they are maybe starting something in their healthcare setting, or they've been doing something, and now collectively there are more of us that are practicing it. Really, it's more mainstream now, which is good. It wasn't this way years ago, and it's becoming that way now, and we really have the evidence and research to back up the practice, which I think is really important. And so it's nice that there's more people that are coming out in the open and saying, yes, I practiced infant massage in my hospital, or will you please come here and teach us so we can practice pediatric massage in the hospital? As more and more healthcare organizations get on board, then it'll be easier for all of us that want to work in any kind of setting like that. And that's something I think that really the U.S. and overseas and Canada, we all need to be seen as healthcare providers. So I'm just glad that this is being accepted in that way.
And last year I actually took a class from Tina Allen, so it was actually an extreme blast. You're never boring, and you're full of information, and we kept trying to stump you too, and I don't think we ever did. So.
No, and you were, and the funny thing is it was really fun, and all of you that listen to Ryan all the time, or you've met him in person, has this infectious laugh that you can't help but have fun anyway. So it was a little hard to get through everything, but we did have a really good time. It was a really fun class.
Yeah. And do people? I know this question, but do people actually massage infants for a living if you decide to be an infant massage instructor? Then.
Well, what do you think? No, I'm just kidding. I'll tell other people. I know. This is is why you can see the two of us. How do you get through a class? Well,
Yeah.
infant massage is a little bit different than pediatrics in that with infant massage, one of the things that we try to do is when you're becoming certified as an infant massage teacher, your goal is actually to learn all about infant massage therapy. So technically, yes, you learn all of the techniques and how you would massage an infant, but your goal is really to teach the parents and caregivers how to use the massage for their own child. And the reason for that, and a lot of people think, oh, it would be great, I want to go and massage babies, but you don't. You really want the families to do it. And the reason is they can bond with their baby through infant massage. And if we were to, even if we were going to teach them, and we were sitting next to them and thought, well, I'll teach by showing you the massage strokes on your own baby, and then you can do it afterward, mom or dad or whoever this caregiver is, they won't do it because the baby might have a different reaction to you as the therapist. They may be happier, or they could even be unhappier. You never know. We're also not with that baby 24 hours a day like their parents are. And the reality of how much time that baby is interested during a day for massage, it can be a few minutes here or 30 minutes there. It's all over the day. It's all spread out. They're not the same as our adult clients who maybe schedule a massage and they're getting ready and they're on the table and they want their whole hour, where a baby might just want to eat during that time, or they might actually be sleeping, and we'd never wake them up for massage. So it's really important that the parents learn it. There are special circumstances in some cases where if you're trained to work with infants with special healthcare needs, such as pediatric massage, maybe even in the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit with those babies that we know benefit from touch, the babies born early that need developmental stimulation, that need to gain weight, that need all of this to happen for them, all the sensory stimulation. There are sometimes those special cases with special training that you may provide some nurturing touch or massage for an infant. But still in those cases, even when I work in the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, if there's a parent at all present with that baby, I never touch their baby and I teach them how to massage them because they're taking that baby home. So they need to feel comfortable with them. They need to know that they're good parents and that they won't hurt them, because baby care can be really scary. When you are a new parent and you have a baby, it's scary. And then if your circumstances are complicated by any kind of medical considerations or anything like that, then it's even scarier. So sometimes just learning the intervention of massage when you're taking your baby home from the NICU is really important. It empowers their parenting. So I'm always advocating, especially with infants, that the parents are the ones who are taught and that we learn so that we can teach them appropriately and safely and make sure that they know the best way to provide the massage, but that we never actually massage the infants. For pediatrics, however, I still advocate that it's possible to teach the parents something, because if your child's unwell and you're in the hospital setting, maybe by their bedside, if you don't know anything you can do, you might be scared to touch your child, you might think you might hurt them or might interact with medication or something of that nature, you might not do it. Well, we can teach them something, absolutely. But then also we receive specialized training in pediatric massage so that we can provide the hands-on techniques. And it's not only for children that are in hospital, but also in hospice, in different types of shelters. Even I work a lot with domestically abused women and children. There's an influx of homeless families right now that really do need nurturing touch. And there's also a lot of things that are happening, even with what just happened in Japan. There's a lot of children that are even here that are suffering effects from that, just because of what's going on, and they're hearing about the rest of the world and different things that are happening. So even PTSD is something that you would provide massage for. So there's a lot of avenues that if you wanted to provide pediatric massage where you're actually massaging the child, you can do that. It's just you want to always, if ever possible, show the parents something so they feel empowered as well.
And then last year you were in Japan teaching massage over there. How was that?
Awesome. Japan's awesome. Little Kidz is big in Japan.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you, Japan is wonderful. You know, the people, I'll just say, the people are fantastic. They're so welcoming, and it was great because the response to the classes, and this was the interesting thing, I'm worked with a woman there in Japan who helps me to organize my translator, who will be my on-site translator, that has a background in body work as well, so she understands the different terminology, and she works with me to get all of my manuals into the translation, to Japanese translation, and we're checking for cultural considerations and everything. And it was funny because she mentioned to me, we're very conservative, so when you come here, it'll be different. And she was shocked at our first break. All of the students were laughing and just having a great time. And she said, this is highly unusual. They're not always like this. This is very unusual. So it was interesting, and they just had a great time. I had so many people that came from so many different professions to learn about pediatric massage. I even had pediatric dentists that came, which I think is awesome. They came to learn massage so the children would feel more comfortable when they're receiving their cleanings or dental work, which is great. I would have loved to have that as a kid. So it's we just had a really good group of people. And one of the things that I think was really surprising is, of course, I think that what I was doing at that time is wonderful, and I was glad to be there. But I always look to see how we can take that and then go to the next step. And so I mentioned to my coordinator, and I said, what I want to do is look at the hospital. Let's find out where can we get in and talk to the nurses and the doctors, and let's think about a pediatric massage program. And she said, slow down. Remember, we're conservative. I think you're going to be coming for years, and then that will be something that will happen. And one of the things that happened prior to this tragedy in Japan is I'm scheduled to go there actually in May, and I think that's going to change a little bit just because of the situation now. But one of the things that happened prior to that is we had people who contacted us from the hospital and said, when she's here in 2011, can you please come in and have her teach in the hospital? So they were already ready for us to come in and do pediatric massage in that setting. So, it's just it's awesome because it's happening so quick, and they don't have anything like it over there. They don't have pediatric massage. They have some people that I've taught to do infant massage, and then there's some people I'm teaching to do pediatric massage, but it's not recognized yet. And so to be invited in the healthcare system already was just amazing. So I'm looking forward to when they're ready for visitors to go over there and get this started, because I know they're going to have so many kids that can benefit.
Definitely. And then you've also gone to orphanages for many years now too. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Every year, one of the reasons why when I was trying to figure out, your business model, which is what we all try to figure out as therapists being professional, our business plan and everything, one of the big things I had to think of is, should Liddle Kidz be a nonprofit organization or something else? And so one of the reasons why I made our foundation and nonprofit organization is so that we would have the ability to try and get grants or do fundraising to really go and bring nurturing touch to children who definitely need it. And a big group of that are orphans. And so what we do every year is, and we sometimes will do it more than one time a year, right now it's been sort of consistently every year, is take a group of volunteers to somewhere overseas and work in orphanages. And recently, just in December, we came back from Vietnam, where we spent 2 weeks. And I was actually quite amazed at the number of applicants we had for volunteer positions. We had over 700 people apply for 20 spots. I know. I thought something. I thought that was another day that I thought I had technical difficulties because a lot of the applications were sent online. And so I turned on my computer this day, and all of a sudden, in the middle of this week, I gave myself a week to decide from submitting your application to the decision process. And in the middle of the week, my email just kept coming in, and I said, oh, great, I must have a virus, or what happened here? And they were all emails from different people asking for a spot on our team. So needless to say, I was reading applications nonstop, and I read every single one of them, and then selected 20 members of our team, who we had people come from Canada and all over the U.S. They didn't even meet each other. I had met every single person that ended up coming on the team. Just worked out that way that they had not met each other until we all came to Los Angeles and met, and then flew to Vietnam for 2 weeks. And it was just a great team, lots of different backgrounds, everybody with massage therapy, infant massage, pediatric massage. We had occupational therapists, yoga specialists, early intervention specialists, autism specialists, just a fantastic variety of people with really rich backgrounds to bring a lot to those kids. And we worked in 7 orphanages for 14 days. It was amazing. We went into Ho Chi Minh City, which is formerly Saigon, but still called Saigon by many people, and worked there. And then we started to travel progressively north, and so we ended up all the way in Ha Long Bay. So we went from sort of not the most southern, but pretty darn south, all the way north in providing our work, and it was really well received. Not only did we provide infinite pediatric massage directly for the children, but one of my goals is always to make something sustainable. So I developed a curriculum that was translated into Vietnamese, and we had translators on site with us who helped us to train the orphanage caregivers and staff. And we had so many people that were really receptive, that would pause for the moment, not that they would leave the child, they might pass the child and work with another caregiver just so they could learn the information and then go back to that child, and if they were ready for massage, give the massage. And it was awesome. I actually had one little boy, that's one of my favorite memories of it. Obviously I worked with a lot of children, but one of my favorite memories was this little boy that was in this dark room, and it was a dark room of children that had really pronounced difficulties, and he had cerebral palsy. He was nonverbal. He looked to be about 10 years old, and he was laying in a crib of wooden slats without a mattress, and there were even wear marks in the wood where he was laying, so he hadn't been picked up very much. So first thing I did was walk in and pick him up and sit down with him and just hold him and then and start to do something. And it was funny because our translator looked a little bit shocked, and so I asked, is this okay? And she said, well, the staff is saying we never pick up this child. And so I asked why, because I thought, well, maybe there's a healthcare consideration, but there wasn't. It was simply that they thought it was a waste of their time. Why waste your time? He doesn't know. And so I sat with him, and we were sitting together, and I was providing some massage and talking to him, making eye contact, and he started to laugh. And it was really interesting because we actually did a documentary, which is going to be coming out. We have hundreds of hours of footage. And at that moment, the videographer was filming, which I didn't realize, and he looked down and he looked at me and he started crying, and he said, it's working, he's laughing. And it was just really amazing because it was touch, and it was some massage, but the connection was huge. And the caregivers were shocked. They'd never seen, they said they never saw him laugh ever. They didn't think he had an emotion. And it was just that they didn't think he understood. So it was really powerful for me because I thought different, and I tried something, and for them, they really learned, and they actually started picking up other babies out of the cribs. It was awesome. So it's really a fantastic thing. If anyone who's listening is interested in doing something like that, we have opportunities to go overseas, and we'd love to have different people apply. We'd love bringing with people with so many different backgrounds. The kids really need it, and they benefit.
Awesome. And what other places are you going to in the near future then? Do you have
We're working right now on, I've been to Thailand in the past a couple of times, and so I have a standing invitation, and even from the university who are asking if we can please come because they want to train lots of the different physical therapists and occupational therapists as well, which would be great because these are people that live in Thailand. So after we leave, they would be able to continue to work, which I always think is good. So that's one of the places that we're working on still. Vietnam, they want us to come back to Vietnam, so we're working on that. I've been working on Ghana, and I have an invitation for Turkey and India, and so we're working on that. And then now I have an invitation for Japan in a different way. So it's looking at the end of the year. We've been working on Thailand, Vietnam, and Ghana, and Thailand and Vietnam are so geographically close together that would be somewhat easy to do at the same time. And then Ghana is something we've been working on. So we're looking at those 3 locations at the moment for this year. Although I'll be honest, with what's happened in Japan, we may switch gears as well and add Japan in there. And not only just the classes that I have scheduled, and I'll probably reschedule, but also the volunteering opportunity to do that as well. So we have a lot of places that are on our big plate, and I would love to say we could just go all year long. Although I have to do my work here too, but we have a lot of opportunities for people to volunteer.
Okay. And then somebody in the chat asked, your training seminars is only over the weekend. Do you think that's enough training to apply for a position performing pediatric or infant massage?
It is, and I think it is. And the reason why I say that is because the infant massage, for one, we're not touching the infant. So things change a little bit in that we are really focusing on healthy, well children. So over that course, which is 3 days of it's relatively intense, actually. It's fun. I have a good time. But we cover a lot of information in 3 days. And over those 3 days, we really just focus on healthy, well infants, their development, to Kidz offers, and I teach all of them. So I am available even after the class. I know when you go out to practice, sometimes the questions don't come up until you're out doing the work. So I make sure everyone has my phone number and email, and they can contact me anytime, even just to share a great story. I love to hear positive stories from them. And then with pediatric, there is a prerequisite in that those who take it must already be either a massage therapist, a nurse, a physician, some type of healthcare-related background where they've already done the real foundation of their work in anatomy, kinesiology, they understand the body. And then we add the piece over 2 intensive days on growth and development, how children are different, how to interact with them on an age-appropriate and developmentally appropriate level, so that you can take what you already know. So all of the things that you already know about the body and healthcare and massage and that really strong foundation, and then you add on to it. And over the 2 days for pediatric massage, I scheduled to cover about 22 different diagnoses or symptoms that massage therapy, there's evidence showing that it's beneficial. But I'm willing to, and I love to, if anyone has a specific question, we can go off into a tangent and just make sure that we're getting the information that that person needs to focus on the population they want to work with. One of the things that I found is with autism and the spectrum disorders, cerebral palsy, cancer, oncology diagnosis in the NICU, you need a little bit more if you want to specialize in those areas. So I do have some advanced pediatric classes that are another additional 2 days for each of those individual specializations. We do talk about those things briefly in pediatric, but that's just it. It's a little brief for you to specialize in those areas. So if somebody, as an example, wanted to specialize with working with autism spectrum disorders, I would recommend that they take the pediatric massage so that they get a really good foundation of working with children and with a variety of conditions, getting certification and having the ability to do that, understand who to approach in the hospital, those kinds of pieces, if that's the setting they want to work in, but then also adding on the other advanced portion for autism spectrum disorders. There's just so much there that you need more information to make sure that it's really thorough and that you feel prepared to work with that population.
Okay, perfect. And then one of the funniest things I've ever seen is, do you remember the cancer seminar we went to?
Is that funny?
Yeah, no, because you were doing a class on, I can't remember, was it cancer and pediatrics or something?
Yes, absolutely. Pediatric oncology massage, absolutely.
Yep, and then you were organizing everything up front, and they thought you were just an aide helping everything out. So.
Now, Ryan, why are you telling all of my secrets?
Yeah.
Now, this is when this person knows too much about you. Can you tell? Oh my goodness. Yes, I remember that funny time.
Yeah. Yeah, the person's eyes just dropped because when they found out you're actually teaching it and stuff like that. So, I mean, you got the wealth of knowledge and stuff like that, but you look so young. And
you know why? It's because I work with children. No, and the funny thing is that Ryan's not sharing the whole backstory. Is that he was sitting next to a woman in this session, and I was up there preparing my presentation, and then I started to speak. And he didn't know that he knew me, and so she kind of looked at him and said that. Oh wait, I thought this was the AZ girl. She looks like she's 12.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny. You know what? That's maybe this is a youth secret to work with the youth.
Yep.
This might be it, Ryan.
Yep.
Maybe we're onto something here.
Yep.
Exactly. This might be it.
And
oh my goodness.
And can people make a living at pediatric massage?
Yes, absolutely. I know that some modalities, you go and take courses and you leave with really fantastic information and you can apply it in your adult practice, so it seems like an easy fit. And so then sometimes people think, well, how do I use infant massage? How do I market that? Or how do I use pediatric massage? How do I market that? What do I do with that? And how do I tell people I'm offering this service, and will they bring their children in for sessions, or do I go to the hospital, or how does that work? And so one of the things that I'm always really good about covering in classes is how to do it, how to market yourself, how to come up with what do you charge for this specialized service. One of the things that can be challenging, especially in pediatric massage, if you're working with children with a variety of difficult healthcare conditions, we are nurturers. Massage therapists by trade are, and so sometimes we even have trouble charging our adult clients because we just want to help and we want to provide what we feel is a healthy therapeutic intervention for them. And so especially when it comes to children and they're not maybe prospering or their parents are having difficulty paying for health care, sometimes it's a challenge to figure out how to charge them. So one of the things that I always share in classes as well is grants, and how you might seek out a grant or how you can work with a larger organization to join forces with you, and together you can seek out a grant, because there's a lot of funding out there. It's just figuring out how to let them know this service exists and that it's the appropriate intervention that matches this funding opportunity. So grants are definitely a really good option, especially with pediatric massage if you come from that background where it's difficult to charge, which it can be for some people. You have to figure out how to be happy, find a happy medium there, and it can be difficult for some people. But I always cover marketing. I teach everyone in my class how to build websites and how to get found on the internet and all of those lovely things, which might seem silly tonight with my technical difficulties, but I actually do cover a lot of information, and I have people that say they could never turn on a computer. They go home and they have a website built based on the information that I've given them, and it really does help. A lot of families, whether you have a healthy child or otherwise, you find information on the internet. So for today's massage therapists, whatever you're practicing, even if it's not infant and pediatric massage, you really have to have a presence there in order for people to find you.
And then you also write all your own books too and stuff for the classes, so I was just really impressed with those.
Thank you. I do. I have, I started out teaching people by saying, hey, sit next to me, grab a sheet of paper, tell me about the child you want to work with, let's make some notes. That doesn't really work well when you go and offer workshops. So I had to sit down and think about if it were me sitting in that classroom, what would I want to have in the book in my hand? So all of my books are about 200 pages a piece for approximately, give or take a few pages, for each course. And then
You're breaking up, Tina. Tina? It'll just be a moment, Tina. I just lost contact. It'll be, just hold on. One moment, please. Hello?
I'm here again.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's that type of night. I told you, it's being on tour. These things happen. It's always how it goes.
You must have AT&T or something. Keep dropped.
I don't know. I keep thinking I'm the Verizon wireless guy saying, "Can you hear me now?" It's not good. Anyhow, I feel really strongly about if you go to a class that you should have a really good, accessible book of information. That when you're in class, you can take notes, and you should. You should always write down things that come to your mind, even if it's not based on what the presenter is saying, but write those things down. But I want people to take home information that when they go back, they can read it, and they have all the evidence that's backing up what they wrote down, that little note. They have it all in their hands, so they can refer back to it when they're out practicing. And so I do have a book, a different book for every single course. I think it's really important, especially if you want to specialize in any area. You need to have really good, solid, credible information to refer to.
And you even have illustrations in those books too, so it helps people remember too, so it's nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I let students do a lot, which a few people have said that they're surprised by, I'm surprised they're surprised by it, to be honest, but one of the things that people do is, like with infant massage or even with pediatrics, if they want to show parents something, the illustrations that are in the book are made for those purposes. So people that take the classes have the ability to use illustrations that are in the book for their teaching of families. If they're making handouts, they can copy them and they can give those to families. I mean, obviously they can generate their own, and I think that's fantastic. But I also know sometimes there's a roadblock initially, and you're thinking, oh, these are great illustrations, but what do I do with them? Well, they're for you to use. These are materials that are given to you by Liddle Kidz so that you can use them. So we provide all of this information so that you can use it with the families. You can photocopy right out of the book and give it to people if you want to. So I'm always about trying to make things easy easier and more accessible. I hate it when I go and take a course and then I don't know what to do with the information after. So I really want to support everyone who's practicing under me, and even people that are taking other modalities. If they have questions or how can I apply pediatric massage with different modalities, I'm always accessible and love to speak to people and see if I can help support them in any way. I just want massage therapy to blossom even more, and I think the best way that we do that is we all support each other and try to help that happen. So I'm busy. I don't sleep that much, but that's okay. That's okay.
And then when you visited us last year, after you left, my kids, I mean, they're addicted to massage after that, because before they would always ask my wife for massages and never ask me. But since they saw you, you actually demonstrated massage on them, and they were really impressed. And I mean, it just helped more that bonding aspect between me and my girls too. So it's really thank you for that.
Oh, I'm so glad. And your girls are just the sweetest girls ever. So I'm really glad to hear that. I think that's awesome. I remember when we were there, and I know at first they weren't sure, which is great, because kids don't want to have massage. They should never be forced to have massage. It's really always on their own terms. And so it was really interesting when they saw me sort of showing you some different things and doing the massage stories, and I saw them sort of perk up a little bit, and then they were very willing after that.
Yeah.
It was really good. And I'm glad that you've continued that process. It's that's awesome.
Yeah, because now it's every single night. So.
Oh God, I gave you another job. I'm loving it. That's the best job. You know, honestly, that's the best job you can have. It really is. With massage, there's so many benefits for the person giving massage as well. So that's fantastic. I'm glad they put you to work.
Yeah.
Those are good kids. When they put their parents to work, those are good kids.
Yeah. And does pediatric massage get into the school system at all?
You know, it does actually. It's a little bit different. In one of the programs that I'm really involved in is actually called Peaceful Touch, which is a program of bringing healthy touch into public classrooms. And it started about 17-ish, I'm going to say, and I know it's not really a word, but about 17-ish years ago in Sweden at the Axelsson Institute. And when I was over in Europe teaching, I had the opportunity. I had heard about the program through my studies in massage therapy, just doing a lot of research about different types of touch and healthy touch for children. And so I had the opportunity to meet Hans Axelsson, and he took me to some of the classrooms in Stockholm and showed me how the kids were using massage in the classroom. And it's a little bit different there, where the teachers can actually provide massage for the children at nap time. But one of the things that I witnessed were the kids were not wanting to wait for the teacher to get to them. It took too long. So they were massaging each other. And so that was a model. When I spoke with Hans later, I said, you know, we need this. We need this in North America. We need this over there. Our children are really aggressive, and there's lots of things. There's lots of sports and activities, and there's not a lot of just connection time, or we forget about that. And so myself and another couple of colleagues, one in Connecticut and one in Northern California, were given permission by Hans to take their curriculum, their Swedish curriculum, and rewrite it so it would be appropriate for North America. And then we founded Peaceful Touch as a nonprofit organization to support that in North America. And we've been really successful, but on a slow track of success, which is actually better founded in the public school system. Because if you try to go in there too quickly, and even if you use the word massage, sometimes they're a little apprehensive. So we did a big kickoff announcement and launch of Peaceful Touch at the University of Connecticut at Hartford, and Dr. Tiffany Field came to it, as well as Hans Axelsson
And is there a special class to teach that in the school system, or is it more like the pediatric massage class that you have right now, or is it more advanced stuff?
There is actually a peaceful touch class as well, and it's a workshop where you learn all about it, and you learn how to then go and introduce it to teachers in classrooms, how to speak to the administrator, how to even work with families. You could offer classes in your community or even different groups. We've had a number of different types of groups like Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, after school programs that have invited us in and teach them in those types of settings as well. So there is a specific curriculum and booklet that goes with that class for Peaceful Touch. And it's about working more with healthy, well children and early school age children. So it's a little bit different than pediatric massage, although it's some of the similar age ranges, but it's a little bit of a different focus. And there's a lot of different ways to introduce the touch via massage stories and other types of aspects, giving that sort of early education, child development edge to massage therapy is really important. And so we use that during that class.
And is it harder over in the United States with touch in the school system? Because I know even some teachers are not allowed to hug the students or touch the students and stuff.
Absolutely. It is an interesting challenge, but one that I like, because as we get more and more programs accepted into the school system, we're going to see some differences. One of the things that our news media does is they really heighten all of the, let's call them horrible things. So all of the scary news that makes us scared for our children, and rightfully so. These things happen, so I'm not naive to it at all. But I don't see as many positive, feel-good things highlighted as much. They do, but not as strong in the news media. So the more that we get these things into the school system, we may even see less of this bullying that's been going on. That there's more and more news media around the bullying and the unfortunate things that children have depression and they're not feeling accepted. And there's all these different things that actually you can make some changes with massage. And it is a little bit different because a lot of the administrators and principals even kind of pass down from the top of the chain to the teachers exactly what you said about not hugging students and don't pat them on the back if they've done a good job. I think even in some schools they may be able to high five the children, but not at all. So it's a little bit scary. And one of the things that people don't even realize is the National Association for the Education of Young Children, they actually have an accreditation process. So they go and they accreditate early education settings and specifically teachers and different classrooms and preschools and those kinds of things. And so one of their guidelines actually says in order for a candidate, which would be possibly a teacher, in order for a candidate to be approved as accreditation by them, by the National Association for the Education of Young Children, in order for them to be accredited, one of the markers is they have to display affectionate and nurturing touch with the children. And so that means if a child skins their knee, you're supposed to go over to them and comfort them. Or if they've done a good job, you're supposed to potentially pat them on the back and say, great job. So it's interesting. We're kind of, the information's being skewed, and mainly because of the negative media blitz that we continue to see. So I think over time we'll see some changes. It's just going to take a little bit longer, I think, here than maybe in different countries. But, Swedish program's been going for about 17 years, although now it's in almost every single early education setting. So it's taken time for them as well, but it's everywhere. So I think if we use that model and use the model the children showed us, I think it will grow. It just takes a little bit of time. And we do have it in a few different states, and it's growing. We have it already in Connecticut, California, New Mexico, Texas. There is some work that we're doing in both Toronto and Vancouver in Canada, and then some other states as well. So we're starting to do some more classes this year. So it's growing. It's just going to take a little bit more time.
And do you have to be a massage therapist in order to take all your classes in?
No, the infant massage doesn't have a prerequisite because we're not actually touching the baby. So that can be taken at any time. It's really fantastic if the person has a background in massage therapy or early education or something to do with children in general. Even if they were a parent and then they want to make a career change, it's a really good fit. So the infant massage doesn't have a prerequisite. So even students, I have a lot of massage therapy students who take it and then get excited because they can start in the field of massage therapy before they're even certified. So it's great. So the infant massage does it, but the other classes in massage therapist or possibly a physical therapist, occupational therapist, nurse, physician, someone who already under their scope of practice can provide touch to their clients or even patients. And that would be a prerequisite for all of the pediatric classes. Peaceful touch, though, doesn't have that prerequisite. So this program for healthy touch in schools, you do not have to be a massage therapist there either. So we're actually, our biggest group of people that we've been teaching in peaceful touches is educators and early education teachers, which is great because they can go in the classroom and use it right away. Again, they're not touching the children, so they don't have to have a background in massage therapy.
And then somebody in the chat asked, where in Texas? You mentioned something about Texas earlier.
Oh, Texas, yeah. Texas is for peaceful touch. We have it in Houston, and we're doing some more work in Dallas. I can think about Texas. I had to get my geography straight here for a second. Houston, we're doing a lot of work in Houston, and then also working on Dallas right now for Texas. And, Texas is a really big state. So we're starting a little bit at one at a time. But if someone who's listening this evening is in Texas or anywhere else, really, and has an interest in anything like that, I'd love to hear from them and see if there's something we can do to get this to the children in their community.
And what's the big difference with autistic children with massage?
Well, it depends on if the person who's working with them knows whether the diagnosis that they have is actually autistic disorder. So that would be sort of commonly known as autism. Or their diagnosis could be anywhere on a spectrum of disorders, which includes Asperger's, and that's sort of well-known like autism. And there's also Rett syndrome, and there's different ones, diagnoses that they'll give different children. There's different symptoms that accompany all of those diagnoses, and then also how pronounced they are is a different variable as well. Something that's commonly known when we think about massage therapy and we think about children with autistic disorder or diagnosis is that it's often, and it's not always, but it's often that children that have this diagnosis are maybe aversive to tactile stimulation. So they may not receive light touch very well, or they may not wish to make eye-to-eye contact, or they may not be as verbal, or they may even have different outbursts that some people call meltdowns. I don't love that term, but I know that different people say that the child will have a very heightened reaction to something. And it's usually something that's within their environment or something sensory or something of that nature. So there are some differences in how you would, even with just autistic diagnosis disorder, how you would approach them, and maybe you wouldn't force eye-to-eye contact, and you probably wouldn't think of starting with light touch, and you might start in an area where the child feels safe and they know everything that's going on. So maybe on the back, maybe not, depending on the child. And that's one of the interesting things with, I think, all of our clients is the same thing with children, and even with a diagnosis like autism, is you meet them and you see what they need, and then you work with that. So a diagnosis gives you a little bit of the picture, but not the whole thing. It's really important to talk to. If I as an example, if I'm going to work with a child that they tell me, someone tells me, a parent or a healthcare provider says, oh, they have autism, then I'm going to ask lots of questions. Well, okay, that's one piece of the puzzle. Tell me about the child. What are things that they like, dislike? And I will only stick to tactile stimulation, all senses. I'll ask about smells, I'll ask about sounds, I'll ask about sights, meaning colors, or I'll ask about everything so I can get a really clear picture on who this child is. And then that might be in speaking with the family or a healthcare provider. I'll definitely try to speak with both if we have a healthcare provider incorporated as well. And then I meet the child, and then I make an assessment, and then I work with them. I don't just use autism as the whole factor, but there are a few things that we see, and there's research that's been done, and more research is being done working with children that are somewhere on the spectrum, which is really important because there's lots of things that we see that even children take medication for that maybe, and I never advocate for children to be off medication because I can prescribe it, so I don't know what they need, but sometimes implementing massage can even be helpful with their medication, or it may allow them to take something different or even lessen the dosage. So it's really nice when a healthcare provider is interested in just sort of incorporating all different treatments or therapies for a child, and massage therapy is a really good fit for children on the spectrum.
And then what is it like to be on TV?
On TV?
Yep.
TV, you ask?
Yeah.
I mean, unlike this evening when I'm not even on video.
Yeah.
What is it like to be on TV? I don't know. It's kind of, it's fun. The funny thing that I do, I think, and I learned this early on, and asking to being asked to come and give presentations, I always do some preparation, but my preparation is sort of every day. I'm really careful to be up to date on research and information that's in the news and all of those things, so that if someone asks me a question, I may be taken off guard, but maybe not. So I try to be as current as possible, especially when it's related to infant and pediatric massage. I'm really careful to try to be up to date on that information. And so when I go on television, I sometimes just go and see what they ask me and just see what happens. And sometimes I'm happy to actually correct the producer when they don't understand. Like one of my funniest things was I was on a television program where they were looking for something dads could do to maybe give mom a break or something they could do to connect with their babies. And so they asked Harvey Clark, who's a pediatrician, to come and do some work with the families with fathers. And then they asked me to come. They flew me in to do this session where I would teach dads how to massage a baby. And they had one dad who had twins. Well, I would never advocate for one father to try to massage two babies, but the producer thought, that's a great shot. That'll look fantastic. And so I had to correct him. So we didn't do that shot. And mom actually sat with the baby and held one baby while dad massaged the other, and then they switched. And that was a great fit. But sometimes producers just think it's a really great shot, and sometimes it's not. I've had one of the fun things with TV too is I've had them, even when babies are on set, it's supposed to be really warm when babies are receiving massage, and it's always cold on the TV set. It's really, really cold. So I've told them, it's cold, and so that's not going to work when we have massage. You need to adjust the temperature, and I want it to be like a warm summer day in here, at least during the time with massage. And you see everybody behind the cameras and everything else, they're just standing themselves and they're sweating, and those little babies are so comfortable receiving massage. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's fine. They need to make sure the babies are comfortable. So it's just fun. I've had a lot of fun doing it, and I'm glad to do it because it brings more awareness to what's going on out in the mainstream. I think that massage is becoming more mainstream, and if we can get all modalities of massage and bodywork to become more mainstream, we're looking really good to be seen as professionals. So I love doing it. It's fun, and I like being asked to do it because then I know there's an interest. So I don't ever approach television or different programs to ask them if they would be interested in the story. They're approaching me, which I think is fantastic, because that means they're thinking about it, or someone mentioned it to them or something, and they're coming and asking for it. So it's really powerful. It really says a lot that they think there's a benefit to it.
Okay. And with Bringing Home Baby, is that still going on? That show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still on. I don't know if they're filming actively. They had a little break for a while, and Bringing Home Baby, it's a fun program. If you haven't seen it, it's on the Learning Channel, although I think we're fondly calling it TLC now. So it's on TLC, and what it is a family is followed prior to the birth of their child, and then during the birth, and then for 3 days afterward, and then they visit them 6 weeks later, something like that. So on a number of occasions, they've asked if I will come in and teach the families how to massage their babies when they're home, and of the right age, and all of these things that we have to have as considerations. One of my funniest stories with that is producers asked me to come in and teach massage therapy to a family. So I came to their home where they were the most comfortable, and I looked at the baby, and I noticed something was unusual. So I pulled the producer to the side, and I quietly asked him in his ear, and I said, can you please tell me if there's something I should know about the baby? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, there's something different about the baby. Can you please explain so I know what I'm working with? I wasn't given any information. And he said, oh, the baby has jaundice. And I said, okay, well, I can't teach them to massage this baby. And he said, why? And I said, well, because I don't know how far along the jaundice is. I don't know what kind of treatment they're receiving. I don't have any background on the information for the child. So I can't teach them. And again, this producer said, no, but it'll be a great shot. And I said, okay, we'll do something. But what it's going to be is that we'll sit together, and I'll teach them how to relax and how to use nurturing touch and check in with the child to see if they're ready. And so we did this, and it was funny because the producer asked me, how long do you think it will take for the whole shot? And I said, well, we're not doing a massage, so maybe it will take 15, 20 minutes. So I sat with mom and dad, and we started to talk and have a little bit of information, sharing benefits and things. And then I teach them how to check in with the baby and just ask permission and just put on their hands, just lay your hands and talk to the baby. And the baby had a great big bowel movement, which was funny because they stopped filming. And his dad changed the diaper, and then we started up again and again. And the baby just did it again and again, a bunch of times. And it ended up taking a long time to get the whole shoot. But what I found out later is that baby hadn't had a bowel movement at all. And so we didn't even do massage. The parents just were in the right moment, the right intention, and placed their hands on the baby's abdomen, and it did something. So it was a really good thing that we did it. And I think it showed parents that there's a lot you can do even just by checking in with your baby and not forcing anything, but just seeing if they're ready. So I don't know that they're actively filming right now. The last program that I just did was a few months ago, so I don't know if they're on a little hiatus. They sometimes go on a little hiatus, but they're doing lots of different programs, which is really great. They have so many programs on all the different cable networks and everything now for families. So there's a lot of information out there, a lot of really cool stuff.
That's awesome. and then you also have a really small car.
I do. I do have a really small car. My goodness, it's like you know a lot about me, Ryan.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I do have a really small car, although one of the things I also have is a really small child. And so my really small car, which is a diesel smart car, is for two people. And this is where, lucky, I married a Canadian. So, you know, in Canada, a few years ago, they were selling the diesel smart car. But way before they brought the smart car into the United States. But they were only selling them to Canadians. And you had to sign this agreement and all of this stuff. Like you weren't going to bring it into the U.S. and sell it. So my husband bought this smart car. Fabulous. We get 70 miles a gallon. We can put biodiesel or regular diesel in it. I mean, you can't beat it. It's great and super safe. It's a really safe car. And then, as we're out on tour, I discovered that we were having a third member of our family, our son, who is now 2. Our son Otis just had his birthday in February, and he turned 2. And so we put the smart car in storage, and we still bought another smart car, meaning or a small car, I should say, a Mini Cooper. So we still have a small car. It's just not as small. We had to get a couple more seats so our son could be in the car with us. So we still have the smart car, but the Mini Cooper is the one that's on tour with us right now.
Okay. And then Liddle Kidz Foundation Global, what do you have planned for the future then for that?
Just to keep growing, to bring on more and more volunteers, and then also to go to different locations and really establish sustainable programs where children that are in need, whether they're orphaned, abandoned, homeless, or they have other kinds of it's just a remote area in another part of the world where people can't afford different services, we want to try to help provide those services for them. And mainly focusing on infant pediatric massage and sort of sensory stimulation. So we're working really hard to try to get other large funders to come on board and supporters so that we can grow the organization and be able to support more children. When it started out, it was me, and it was really grassroots, just myself, and now I feel really lucky that I have so many people around me that are supporting and advocating for this work. So it's growing, and I think over the next year it's really going to grow more. And I think one of the things that will help is this documentary that we just did in Vietnam. We have, I want to say, it's at least over 200 hours of footage. And so I have an editor right now that's just going through it and trying to get it chopped down to something that's sizable that we can actually look at and then make this documentary. And I think when we put that out, it's going to bring to light a lot of information for people that there are children still in parts of the world that no one picks up, that nobody touches, and they need it. And there's lots of opportunity to go and provide it. So one of the things I really want to do is just have the foundation get an even more solid foundation itself and just grow with quality partnerships and collaborations and just be able to bring this nurturing touch to as many children and even their parents and caregivers everywhere as much as possible. So we're growing, and that's why I was saying I don't sleep very much, because we're growing so fast in a really fantastic way that there's a lot to do, and it's fine because I know that we're going to be able to get so many people involved in it as it grows, and it's fantastic. I'm just really I kind of pinch myself every day, and I'm just surprised at how many people. When I started doing this years and years and years ago, I thought I was sort of by myself in Los Angeles, wanting to do this thing that I thought was so fantastic, to bring pediatric massage and nurturing touch to children. That here I am, and I'm doing this, and I was just hoping that, maybe one day someone else would be interested in joining this group, and there's a lot of people that are really interested in working in pediatrics with massage. It's fabulous.
That's awesome. And then, are you going to be at what conferences are you going to be at this year?
Fantastic conferences, actually. I'm going to be. No, they are. They're so, really, they're so fun. If you're listening this evening, or even if you're listening and you're now going to listen to this on the playback later, if there is a conference anywhere remotely near you, you should go to it. Really, there's so many. It's so fun because you meet everybody that you've been maybe Facebooking with, back and forth, and in that kind of fun introduction to different people. But you can actually go to these conferences and meet everybody and talk to them and share what you're doing in your profession, and then learn from them as well. It's just they're fantastic networking opportunities, and they're honestly just a lot of fun. I'm going to be at the American Massage Conference in Atlanta, which is a really good time. I hear it's going to be great. It's very affordable, and there will be so many people there. I think Ryan is actually going to be there as well.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a lot of fun.
You breaking up again? Tina? Just one more. She'll call right back. One moment, please. Hello?
Hello, I'm back.
Okay.
Even aside from just the conferences, even just being held in Atlanta and near, in Orlando, there's a lot to do there. I'm lucky. My family travels with me, so we get to do all the fun family things in any sort of free moment as well. But that would be fun, to bring your whole family or even your friends and kind of make a whole good time of it. There's a lot to do. So they've picked awesome locations for both of the conferences. So I'm just really excited to be part of it, and just to see everyone, and to see Ryan in person, and everybody else is going to be there. It's going to be a really good time, both of them.
Definitely. And then where can people find all your information for your workshops?
For the workshops, you would go to littlekids.com, and it does have that funny phonetic spelling that Ryan mentioned. So if you know how to spell it, it helps you get there, so it's good. Yeah. So it's liddlekidz.com. And then I have another website also, a second one, which is for our overseas outreach, which is for all of the information to apply and to go work in the orphanage and care settings, and that's littlekids.org. So littlekids.com has a lot of information, and littlekids.org does as well. And there's two different websites with lots of information on them, and all of our contact information is on both of the websites as well.
And another question, what about states that are regulated with massage? Are you allowed to teach infant massage to parents in those states, do you know?
I believe you can, although I'll be honest, I would prefer if someone checks with their board just to be sure, because I would hate to have anyone have a problem whatsoever. And because I teach so many different places, I try to stay as up to date as possible, but it's a little bit challenging just to see if a board has made a change, and I'm not aware of it. So just to be really careful, I would check with your board to be sure before you go and, of course, run around and do something. I would double check. But I know that even in regulated states, I have a lot of I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure if that's the reason that it's okay, but if you're a massage therapist and you're not sure, I would definitely check with your massage board. I will mention, though, that all of the Liddle Kidz classes are approved by the National Certification Board for Therapeutic Massage and Bodywork, and then in all of the different states that have regulations for CEU providers that need anything different other than NCBTMD, we have approval there as well. And then in Canada, in all of the provinces that have regulation, we're approved there as well. And then overseas, we have approvals for different places overseas too. So anyone who is curious about whether or not our courses are accredited, they are accredited, and they do offer CEUs or CEH depending on where you practice for all of them.
Okay, perfect. So if anybody ever wants to host a workshop, do they just contact you, or how does that work then?
That would be the easiest. Just if you're interested in considering hosting a workshop, I would go onto littlekids.com, and then you can go to our contact page and either give us a call or you can email with information. We also have on the right-hand side of that webpage, there's a little square that says host a training, and you can click on that, and there's an application if you'd like to be a facility host, a massage school, or something of that nature. You can put your information in there. And if you do call, we try to answer the phone as much as possible. Even when I'm not having someone answer the line, if someone's not available to answer the line, then I transfer all the calls to my cell phone. So I'm a person who doesn't like to call somewhere when I'm ready to ask a question and push a bunch of buttons, extension to I don't know where, and then get disconnected. So we answer the phone, or if you leave a message, we call you back as soon as we can. So by all means, if you have an urgent question, feel free to even call if you don't want to wait for an email reply, although those are pretty instant too. So I'm from the background thinking that if I have a question asked, I want it answered. So we're happy to get in touch with you as soon as we can if you miss us for some reason.
And with teachers, you're supposed to bring them apples whenever you take their classes and stuff. But for Tina, make sure you bring anything from Trader Joe's, okay? So.
You're the best. I love that plug. I wish for some reason I was getting a percentage of their profits. That would be even better.
Yep.
That's what Ryan told me before I got on the call tonight. I don't know if it was online, but he said, one of the great things when you get here, we have a Trader Joe's now. So being from California and growing up in the valley where Trader Joe's originated, it's fabulous. I don't see them everywhere. So when I ride the tour bus through California, we usually stock up. So I'm glad by the time I get your way, I'll be out of all of my supplies and I can stock up again. So
yep.
That's good information.
Okay, and is there anything else that we haven't covered that you think we need to touch on?
Well, one little thing I can mention is one of the newer things is with Massage Today, there's a new blog. It's relatively new, and they've asked me to be a contributor to their Women in the Massage Business blog. So you'll see a lot of information on the Massage Today site. I'm going to be getting my information up there and getting some blogs and things posted up there as well. In addition, I have a blog and everything with my website, but it'll be another way that you can see different information that's going on currently, and I'll try to keep updating that as much as possible. So that's something that's just happening just recently that's been put into place. So there's going to be a lot of information going on to that website as well.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so again, if anybody wants to get a hold of Tina, go to www.littlekids.com. So LIDDLEKIDZ.com. So the way kids would actually spell it then. So okay, thank you very much tonight, Tina.
Thank you, Ryan, and I thank you so much, and I apologize to everyone about the technical difficulties. We'll just have to do it again and get this all figured out, I think. So
Yep.
I apologize for that, and I'm glad that everyone was listening tonight, and I look forward to hearing from anybody who has a question or a comment, or even, if you're already practicing infant and pediatric massage, even with your own children, and you would like to share a story, I'd love to hear it. So I just really thank everyone for taking this time out to spend the evening with Ryan and myself.
Yep, and it's live, so anything can happen. So
This is what happened. I told you, I am in a tour bus. I do the best I can, but things happen. So
Yep.
I'm glad we had a phone that worked. That was good.
Yep, definitely. Okay, thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Yep.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.